Today, we're going to dive into a super common medication side effect, but we're going to look at it from an angle you've probably never even thought of. We're going to uncover the hidden brain science behind it, and trust me, it's way more complex and fascinating than you'd think. Okay, let's start with a number: 30 to 60%. That's how many older adults taking atypical antipsychotics end up dealing with constipation. I mean, think about that. That is a huge number. Way too big to just be a simple one-cause problem. For a long time, the thinking was pretty straightforward. The usual suspect was something called anticholinergic effects, which is just a fancy way of saying the meds put the brakes on the gut's normal rhythm. And look, it makes sense, but it doesn't really explain why the problem is so widespread. So that leads us to the big question, right? Is that really the whole story? And the research says absolutely not. The real issue goes so much deeper, and it involves this incredible communication network between your brain, your spine, and your gut. So to figure this out, we've got to peel back the layers and look way beyond that simple, obvious explanation. To really get what's going on, we need to introduce the star of our show today, the body's fundamental go signal. It's called the defecation reflex. And here's the key thing you have to remember. This is not just a local thing happening down in the gut. It's a process that starts in the spine but is heavily controlled by the brain. The brain is mission control here. Now, for older adults, this whole reflex is already a bit vulnerable. I mean, just the process of aging can weaken the muscles you need and cause a little wear and tear on the nerves that run the whole operation. So this system's already starting with a bit of a handicap. And this is where the medication comes in. It takes that already weakened system and basically creates a massive communications jam. It messes with the brain's ability to send that critical signal. So let's just take a quick look at how this system is supposed to work. You can see this really elegant loop. Signals travel from the gut up to the brain, and then a command comes all the way back down. It's a pretty intricate network. Let's break that down real quick. First, a signal zips up to the brain. The brain gets the message and fires up a downward path, releasing two crucial messengers, dopamine and serotonin. These guys then activate a specific spot in the spinal cord, which then sends out the final go signal. Simple enough, right? Okay, now here's where it all goes wrong. Atypical antipsychotics work by messing with those exact same neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin. So you can see here, the medication basically acts like a roadblock, jamming up that signal from the brain before it can ever get where it needs to go. And this really gets to the heart of it. It's not that the gut muscles have just decided to stop working. It's that the command from headquarters, from the brain, is getting totally scrambled. That go signal just isn't getting through. And, just to make things even more interesting, it's not only about a weak go signal. There's also a competing stop signal. Another messenger, called GABA, is sending an inhibitory message. So you've got this double whammy. The go signal is turned down, and at the same time, a stop signal might be screaming over it. So let's talk about the final piece of this puzzle, because the problem isn't just coming from the brain. The actual state of the gut plays a massive role in this whole communication breakdown. The key term to know is gut dysbiosis. It sounds complicated, but really it just means the community of bacteria living in your gut is out of balance. You've got fewer types of bacteria and fewer of the really helpful ones that keep everything running smoothly. You can see the difference pretty clearly here. On the left, a healthy gut is like a thriving city, full of diverse bacteria making beneficial stuff. But on the right, you have an unhealthy gut. It's got low diversity, it can lead to something called leaky gut, and it might even damage the local nerve endings right there in the bowel wall. And here's where it all comes together. That unhealthy gut doesn't just cause local issues. It sends its own noisy, disruptive signals back up to the brain, creating this awful, vicious cycle. The brain signal is jammed coming down, and the gut is sending static going up, making the whole communication jam a total nightmare. So here's the crucial point. What we're looking at is a perfect storm of three different things. First, aging weakens the physical parts. Second, the medication directly blocks the brain's command signal. And third, an unhealthy gut messes up the local hardware and sends bad information back to the brain. All three are working together to weaken that critical reflex. So if the problem is a broken communication line, what's the solution? Well, this leads us to a completely new way of thinking about treatment. It's not about just forcing the system to work, it's about actually repairing those lines of communication. And this quote from the source material really just lays out the whole strategy. The The idea is to use specific probiotics, the kind that produce a compound called butyrate, to help get those dopamine neurons we talked about back up and running. So, how in the world would that work? Well, first, these probiotics help get your gut bacteria back into a healthy balance. Then, they produce that butyrate, which is incredible because it's been shown to help the body make its own dopamine. So, you're basically helping the body fix its own communication problem from the inside out. If we look at our diagram one last time, you can see exactly how this fits in. The probiotics get to work down at the gut level, but their good effects travel all the way up that gut-brain highway to help repair and support the central command center, finally letting that go signal get through loud and clear. And that right there is the single biggest takeaway from all of this. This is not about using a standard laxative to just force a mechanical result. This is a much more sophisticated, biological approach to restore a delicate brain-gut communication system. It's about treating the root cause, not just the symptom. And this all leads to a really provocative final question. If a neurological side effect from a psychiatric drug can potentially be treated by targeting the gut, what else is possible? It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Could the future of treating the brain actually lie in the gut?